This NBA star has literally been in every single rumor so far this offseason, and that guy's Ben Simmons. And for some reason, he hasn't been traded yet, but it's starting to look like he will be traded before the season starts, since it's been reported that he's not going to go to training camp and he really just wants to get out of Philadelphia. And also, Philadelphia has obviously been actively looking to trade him for a couple of months now. And to be honest, I would have thought that he would have got it traded by now, but nonetheless, it has led me to make this video where I'll be discussing some Ben Simmons trades that I think might happen. Just as a disclaimer, I want to say that there has been a lot of reports about some teams falling out of the rumors for Simmons, all types of stuff, but it seems like nearly every team that has been discussed that Ben Simmons could go to, all of them had fallen out because Philadelphia is asking for too much. So just don't take this video too serious. Before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content, and if you want to help me reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers. Also drop a comment on this video if you want me to respond to your comment, because I respond to all of them. And play that intro. First trade I want to talk about that could possibly include Ben Simmons involves the Indiana Pacers. And yes, I know earlier on the 76ers got offered Malcolm Brogdon straight up for Ben Simmons and they declined it very rudely. But I think if Indiana backtracked on this move and added TJ Warren and a future first round pick to this move, I think it's a deal that the 76ers would consider going along with. Because the reason for that is because on the 76ers side, they would get Malcolm Brogdon, who was a guy who at this point is probably just as good as Simmons, since he's actually a guy who can be productive in the postseason. He also spaces the floor at an elite level. He literally just averaged 21 points and 7 assists, bro. He's not a scrub at all. He's also a really good playmaker. He's a guy who can create his own shot at a decent level, and on defense, he's far from a liability. And I think it would be a beautiful fit on this team. They'll also get TJ Warren in this move, who is coming off of a really serious injury. But over the last few years, he's been a 16 to 18 point scorer, and I think he can replace Danny Green in the starting lineup, but I think he could do a better job than him since he's more consistent. And I think this would generally make the 76ers a better team overall. I genuinely believe that. In the case of the Pacers kind of look like a team that's stuck in place right now, and they don't have any significant way to improve. Getting Ben Simmons could potentially rejuvenate their whole franchise, because there's a chance that he could explode to turn into an elite player in a new scenery. And although he's not the greatest fit, I don't think losing Brogdon is too big of a deal, since he's not a young player or anything like that. And losing TJ Warren isn't too big of a deal either. It probably would make them a worse team, but I think it would help their future. Second trade I want to talk about that might include Ben Simmons includes the San Antonio Spurs. I think the potential move could be DeJounte Murray, Thaddeus Young, Derek White, and a future first round pick to the 76ers, and then the Spurs obviously get Ben Simmons. For the 76ers side, I think there's a chance this could potentially make them a better team. This is due to the fact that in this move they would get DeJounte Murray, who I think is a very underrated point guard in the NBA. He might not be as good as Ben Simmons in the regular season, but I feel like he would play better in the postseason just because he's not afraid to shoot the ball. He's also one of the 5 best guard defenders in the whole NBA. He's not as good as Ben Simmons on defense because he's not an amazing help defender like Simmons, but when it comes to defending one-on-one, he's just as good as anyone else. They also in this move would get Thaddeus Young, who was a contender for a 6th Man of the Year award last year, and I think he would help their depth out. Derek White is also very underrated, and we haven't seen him fully healthy over the last 2 years, and a lot of people were expecting him to take that next step to maybe even be a star player, so maybe he could take it on this team and make them even better. I definitely think there's a chance this move could make them better. In the case for the San Antonio Spurs, on their side of the move, they would be getting a guy in Ben Simmons, who is a player who has legit superstar potential. I know everyone is hating on Simmons right now, but don't act like if Ben Simmons isn't developed properly, he can be a superstar. And at this current moment, the Spurs don't have a player who I think for sure will be a superstar. I'd probably guess the most likely guy is Keldon Johnson, but he's not someone who I would actually predict. I think he can be an all-star level player, but nonetheless, if they want to get back in the title contention, they're going to need a guy who has that potential. I think Ben Simmons is the best player they can get that's available right now. The third team I want to discuss that Ben Simmons could be maybe go to is actually the team that has been rumored the most as of late, and I think it's actually the most realistic place Ben Simmons is going to go, and that's the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I think the move would be D'Angelo Russell, Jaden McDaniels, and a first-round pick to Philadelphia, then Ben Simmons to the Timberwolves. In this move for the 76ers, it will clearly make them a better team because Simmons is probably a better regular season player than D'Angelo Russell, but when it comes down to the playoffs, I guarantee you D'Angelo Russell will be a better player because he's just a way bigger threat because he's an elite shooter. He can shoot off the dribble. He can create plays for others. He can run the pick and roll of Joel Embiid. Ben Simmons couldn't do that. He's also a really good playmaker. On defense, he's nowhere close to Ben Simmons, but overall, this team is pretty good on defense, so I think they'll make up for it. In this move, Philadelphia would also get Jaden McDaniels, who's a really underrated player, and he's actually a really good defender. That's something Philadelphia could definitely use. Then the Timberwolves would get Ben Simmons, and he's a guy who I think could probably thrive in Minnesota because they're a pretty well-spaced out floor. They have Anthony Edwards, they got Malik Beasley, who's an elite shooter. Anthony Towns is the best three-point shooting center in NBA history, and the Timberwolves just need to win games, and I think the Timberwolves could win regular season games with Simmons. I don't know about the playoffs, but right now, if you're the Timberwolves, you only made the playoffs one time in the last 15 years. Just making the playoffs is all you really need, and I think Simmons would help you do that better than D'Angelo Russell would. So I think this would be a pretty smart move for them as well. The fourth Ben Simmons trade I want to discuss is him maybe going to the Sacramento Kings, and in this move I think it would include Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield to the 76ers, then Ben Simmons to the Kings. And for Philadelphia, I think this will clearly be a move that makes them a better team because Tyrese Halliburton is a guy who I think is going to be a future All-Star in the future. He's a guy who could space the floor at a good level from what he showed in his rookie year. I hope it wasn't a fluke. He's also a guy who can play make and attack the rim, and he's an above average defender. They would also be getting Buddy Hield, who's one of the best shooters in the NBA, and this would just be perfect for their team overall because he's a great floor spacer. Him and Seth Curry would be kind of redundant, but I think overall it would just be better having an extra elite shooter on your roster. I think this move would make them a really good team. And for Sacramento, although the fit with De'Aaron Fox and Ben Simmons would absolutely be disgusting, Simmons is still a guy who I think just needs to be on a team that's not expected too much, to do anything crazy. I think Sacramento was kind of the perfect spot for him. I could definitely see him thriving in there and getting back some confidence, and I do not think it would be an amazing trade for the Sacramento Kings because I think Tyrese Halliburton is more of a safe player in a trade like this, but Simmons clearly has more potential, so if it ever happened, I guess we would just have to see. But to conclude the video, please don't take this that serious. I'm just talking about some teams that I think would be interesting to see Ben Simmons go to. I don't know where he's gonna go, but I just thought these were interesting. Philadelphia is kind of acting like Ben Simmons is has the same value that he did 2, 3, maybe even 1 year ago. He clearly just not that type of player anymore, and people don't trust him that much. He hasn't shown any improvement offensively since his rookie year. He's not worth 4 first-round picks and 2 young players anymore. Simply not. But I guess it'll be pretty interesting to see where he gets traded to. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know where you think Ben Simmons is going to go. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content, as I post literally every single day. Also, to help me reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers. Also, drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all of my comments. And I'm out.